Hello.
So I think we're all very happy to have you here, Philipp, and very curious about the 1KOMMA5 venture. So could you first tell us what is like the huge problem you started tackling when you built 1KOMMA5?
Yeah, I think 1KOMMA5 is now 4 years old. The main problem that we're solving is that there is a huge imbalance in energy. So you have a very volatile energy production, so a lot of wind energy, solar energy. Problem with that is you only have about 2,000 hours a year, which is not even 20 to 30% of the time available. And on the other hand, you have more and more electrification. So you have more EVs coming in, you have more electrical heating coming in, you have data centers of AI coming in, so there's a lot of consumption, and both is not in harmony. So both is actually not working well together. And 1KOMMA5 is about basically arranging the two to steer consumption into the time window of production of, for example, wind electricity and solar electricity at scale. And that's what we do.
So that's interesting because the way you position it is that it's not, we don't have like a energy generation problem or the level of energy that is produced. It's more about how to allocate it well, so it actually corresponds in the most efficient way to the needs of the consumers.
Yeah, absolutely. So the generation of renewables is not an issue anymore. Or let's say it, the generation in itself has become a problem. The grid is static, so it has no wiggle room at all. It's a 100-year-old machine, the grid. And yes, you're correct. If we want to continue on renewables and in parallel electrify everything, which is a trend that we see in China, we see it in Texas, we see it in Europe, then we need to solve this problem. If you are not harmonizing consumption and production, there's an issue. It's not about generation anymore. It's for sure the cheapest and cleanest source that you could ever get. Now it's about how do you make sure to not lose a lot of money when you distribute that energy towards the last mile.
So how do you do that?
It's pretty simple in the end, right? I mean, what we do is we basically have a little computer that we are putting into every building. It's connecting energy assets to the cloud, and they follow the rhythm of wind and sun. And the rhythm of wind and sun is leaving a price point at the energy market. So if there's lots of wind and sun, prices go down. And if there is not a lot of wind and sun, prices go up. So you have a correlation between very low electricity prices and also very clean electricity. And we simply follow that rhythm with, EVs, heat pumps, batteries, and help our customers to reduce their bill. But at the same time, we also help the grids absorb more electricity out of renewables, right? So we actually make the grid more efficient because it can actually swallow more load. And at the same time, we also enable more production of renewables because windmills are not being curtailed, solar plants are not being shut off. We allow them to produce more. And that's what we do, and it helps our customers to reduce their electricity price. In the Nordics, we're in 7 countries, to almost zero. In Holland, they have a negative price, so they make money with their assets instead of actually having cost. And also in Germany, the pricing is extremely low. So it has a great benefit for our consumers. It helps the system.
So you're actually both clean and cheap.
Yes. What a coincidence.
But I often think and feel people, it's kind of counterintuitive that sustainability or impact can be smart business and build more profit, basically. So do you feel that has been a driver to the growth of the company? Was it that more the cheap part of it or the clean part of it that has been attractive for your customers, or is it both?
I would say impact and cleantech is just a category, just as AI right now is a very prominent category as well. I think if you want to solve a long-term problem, you have to look beyond those fashionable categories, right? I mean, we've been profiting from being categorized as a cleantech. Now cleantech is not fashion anymore, so we focus on what we do. And what we do is we use software to solve one of the most relevant problems in energy ever. And at the same time, we are profitable in what we do. So we are 4 years old. We have about 600 million in revenue. We have a lot of recurring revenue coming from the subscription from Heartbeat AI. We just opened Heartbeat AI to also fulfill towards existing systems, very important step to us, and we went international. So I would say for us, it's probably for investors more relevant towards their LPs to categorize us. We are in the end a hardware and SaaS business, a hybrid business. So we generate recurring revenues from customers for Heartbeat AI, and at the same time we are having an average hardware sale per customer of $30,000, which is quite significant with a gross margin of 40%. So I would consider this in all aspects a very tempting and profitable business. So yes, I think it's always sometimes you profit from a narrative and sometimes you don't. We have to look beyond that.
That's great. And you could see in the current environment with this geopolitical shift around sustainability, how important it is to understand your true value and to be able to navigate the kind of positioning in that sense. You were talking about 600 million euro revenue. How old is the company?
4 years.
So
a little bit more than for 4 years, yeah.
That is massive growth.
Yeah.
How did you grow that fast?
I think that there are 3 dimensions. One is we help consumers to electrify the building that they are living in. So it's a home electrification game. So we have, first of all, we add new products. So the platform that we have built in fulfillment, last mile fulfillment, enables a customer to just build or acquire a charge point, a heat pump, a battery, a solar system, anything that's around electrification in one solution. So by just adding new products into the portfolio, we can grow. So even if we wouldn't grow on the customer base, the average order value is going up because people might just first buy a solar system, a battery, then later they start buying heat pumps. And the convenience aspect is really relevant for us. So it's one app, payment is via the app, but also the scheduling of the fulfillment in the building, in the home is all done digitally. So this is one dimension of growth. So we just add new products, air conditioning, for example.
This is upsell, basically, an existing customer base.
It's also new customers entering our ecosystem for the first time. So we just launched air conditioning in Europe in the summertime, which makes sense. And then
that sounds smart.
Yes, and then you have customers for the first time approaching us for a particular product, and then they become part of the ecosystem. So that's the first vertical of growth. The second one is we simply have more and more customers coming, which is good. So just organic growth of more customer interest. We have a very strong referral program. So we try to focus a lot on people referring via the app. So the contribution of growth just from app users in Germany, they contributed about 50 million in new sales. Yeah, so that's something that we like a lot. And the last one is that we are now using Heartbeat AI as a new entry point to the ecosystem. So even if you have not used our platform to fulfill on any of those hardware points, you can just connect to it and just buy the box. So and that has just happened, but it already shows that we can penetrate into existing ecosystems much faster and also grow. Yeah.
And did you use M&A or acquiring other companies to also go faster?
Yeah, but mainly for skilled labor. So if you want to electrify buildings, next to connecting you to a virtual power plant is what we want to do. Prior to that, customers need to electrify. If they have oil heating, they cannot participate in our virtual power plant because we cannot optimize oil. Yeah. So what we do is we help them to electrify. And we have seen if you do not have that fulfillment capability, you are not in control with the customer. Customer satisfaction is really low. So this is what we did. So we acquired companies, about 40 companies. Most of them, all of them, are skilled labor. So traditional companies that are really good at installing heat systems, air conditioning systems, and we did this across the globe because we know that customers in the end, yes, they want to have a virtual power plant, but they also want to have one party, one partner that can help them with anything surrounding it. Yeah. So this is why we did that. Now we don't need this too much anymore because the brand is quite strong.
Yeah.
And we have about 30,000 applicants per year. So we have a lot of talent coming our way.
You have a very strong industrial savoir-faire and technique and part of the team, and another is very tech-based, AI-driven, etc. How does these two cultures merge? And how do you make them work together in a way that you're making the most of that?
I would say it's the secret sauce, because if you look at buildings in Europe, all of them are completely fragmented individual places, even within Germany. But if you go to France, if you go to Portugal, the housing structure, they are very different. So I think the trick really is, how do we actually install heat pumps, chargers in a way that they are accessible to a centralized AI layer, an automation layer. And we try to set up every system that we are fulfilling on the platform side in an optimal way. So it makes it much easier for our customers to participate in the VPP. And the other way around, if you want to scale a virtual power plant and you have this very fragmented landscape and ecosystem and you have zero fulfillment capabilities, you might just get stuck in the complexity of grid operators, individual manufacturers that have different software layers. So we also needed it to have a certain level of control. And yes, it's to be honest, it's a lot of fun to merge the two, because in the end we are enabling the talent that's in the last mile for the first time to try to automate in a way they've never seen before. So it's a challenge, but at the same time it's also a secret sauce and in a way magical for us as a company.
That's great. You talk a lot about European markets. I think you're present in 7 markets and 6 of them are European. Am I correct? Yeah. So in today's time where we hear a lot talking about European sovereignty, how we need actually to be independent for critical industries, including energy, of course, and with also increasing needs from an energy perspective with the rise of AI and all this. What do you see the role 1KOMMA5 can play into getting in that strategic goal of becoming more independent at European level, cleaner, cheaper, more efficient?
I would say Europe and every Western country that is electrifying and is planning to be energy independent will need something like Heartbeat AI. Might not need us, but it will need an equivalent. We did a study in Germany with Roland Berger, which is like a really conservative think tank or consultancy company, that if you apply Heartbeat AI only in Germany, with the existing infrastructure we have, we would save 255 billion euros without any capex investment, just like that. On a European level, we would save trillions. And it's not even looking at the trajectory of additional consumption, data centers coming into the game. So I would say there is no alternative. If you want to have more data centers, if you want to have more EVs, if you want to have more electricity consumption, and if you have just a portion of the electricity coming from renewables, you will have to fix this. If you don't fix this, you'll have extremely high cost. Let me give you an example. Right now, a windmill in the Northern Sea is turned off and we cannot use the electricity. That is costing us billions. Then an hour later, it's not curtailed, but it's generating electricity and nobody needs it. The electricity price is negative and we have to transport it to Italy, and the consumers are paying the transport cost in terms of grid fees. 2 hours later, the consumers in northern Germany need electricity again, but the windmill is off. Now they need to transport the electricity from France, from a nuclear power plant, all the way physically to northern Germany. The system is simply not efficient. It costs too much money. The alternative is you just gear up in northern Germany, I don't know, a couple of 100,000 EVs, heat pumps, home batteries, you name it. You also have flexibility by people just shifting consuming behavior. You see that in Denmark already and in Sweden. And then you would not need to transport it. You would not need to curtail the windmill, so you have more output. You would not need to transport as much, so you have less transportation costs. And you would not need to buy back electricity from France later and transport it again. And this effect, compounding all across Europe, is magnificent. And so in both ways, if you don't fix it, it's going to compound in very high cost. And if you fix it, it's surprising how low the cost actually is. And we can actually supply electricity at zero cost. Yeah.
It really feels that having a unified and unique grid covering all Europe can be a super key competitive advantage for 100%. The European market.
Europe has a lot of renewable power already. A lot of that power cannot be used because it's curtailed. And the grid infrastructure is really good compared to any other market. But we have still static grid operators. We still have fixed tariffs that are actually not looking at the time zones. And they don't look at whether electricity is cheap or expensive. So the system is 100 years old. And what we see is the huge potential to automate all of it. So if Heartbeat AI becomes activated, we become the utility. We become the last energy subscription you'll ever need because the software is automating the entire energy world. So from trading to transport to all of it. And it's all gone. And you'll always have the cheapest and cleanest electricity. It doesn't matter whether the price goes up or down. For a consumer, it's a great solution. And it's completely different than what we have today. But yes, the European grid is a strong backbone. And we could utilize it much more and make electricity for everyone a lot cheaper. But for that, we'll have to, break a couple of regulatory ceilings.
I'm going to come back to that. But before that, I think at 2050, what we believe in is that we're living a complete transformation of the economy after digital. I mean, digital is still ongoing, but it's the sustainable transformation, and that there's a key difference between digital transformation and sustainable transformation is that digital is about disruption. You take the place of somebody else by being more efficient. And sustainable transformation is about value chain shifts. And you're a perfect example of having, in the way you've built the company, unified or verticalized the whole value chain, starting from the ground up to optimizing AI and connecting with the grid. And so how this kind of strategy of really going vertical plays in, knowing that it's only now that some people understand how strategic that is to be able to connect, because it's only when you connect that you can optimize.
I would say this is what we truly love about our company, 1KOMMA5, is that customer value, altruistic benefit to the system, they overlap. At the same time, it will allow a successful energy turnaround. And the mission statement is to live on wind and sunlight forever for free. That's basically, that's the dream. And we see it's possible to do. And that's also why, Cleantech and impact as a trend has not changed us. And also the trend ending is not changing us. Because in the end, it's simply the better way. It's just it's the smarter and better way to manage the physical environment. This is not about opinion. This is physics. And I think this is very reassuring. So I think if you build a business based on physics and on real problems that you can solve with a very smart solution, then we are happy to be sustainable. I hate ESG reporting, sorry. But why? Because I always say every revenue we make is a contribution to impact, right? But I think I have nothing else to add.
Got it. But then what are so we talk about key aligned performance indicators.
Yeah.
So you can measure that alignment and the value you're bringing to every stakeholder on the value chain.
100%.
What would be the type of indicators you're really following to measure you're still sticking to that?
I mean, we obviously also look at CO2 impact, right? Because, I mean, it's a very wholesome thing if you rip out an oil tank and an old oil heating and you replace it with an electrical heat pump, because you know that you will have permanently destroyed the business model of the oil company there. So this is, I think, for me, it's very rewarding to do that. But I think it's really important to say, our CFO always says, I'm looking at every revenue equal to every CO2 reduction. And if I can only look at revenue, and then I don't have to look at CO2, because CO2 will just follow. The more revenue we make, CO2 will follow, right? And I think this is, if you're in that position, that's a truly sustainable company, because whatever you do automatically results. We don't have to don't have to count toilet paper to prove to someone that we are sustainable.
But that's because you built your business model in a way that profit will go with impact. So it's basically aligning interest.
Yes,
also.
it certainly is.
Yeah, that's great. What is needed to align further? You were talking about regulation. Is there other things, either to plug other places of the value chain or to kind of make the environment around you more favorable? What is needed in the future to still to go one step further, or 2 steps, or 3 steps?
I think we can touch again on the elements I mentioned earlier, which were like all products that are electrified should be part of our platform. So from air conditioning to all buildings should be our target market. So we have now, for example, the government of the state of Lower Saxony, which is like a German state, has just ordered 500 buildings to be decarbonized. And we use the fulfillment platform we have. So we can actually do a lot of buildings at the same time with a full product stack. So we're starting to penetrate into B2C is our core market, but we're also going B2B. So we can actually, every building that needs energy is suitable in a way for us. So I think this is a lot of things that we can do. We also start working with manufacturers of the equipment to make the equipment, to allow the equipment to serve our purpose better. Yeah, if you operate a virtual power plant, you look at a heat pump completely different and a battery. I want a battery to have a lot of capacity, and I want to have it a lot of performance and a lot of very fast response time, because it will affect the value to our customers. So we are also changing. We asked our manufacturers to change the products for us, because we see there used to be silos in one building, and now they become part of one solution, and we see that we can maybe even scrap, we don't need to have additional apps, just one. We don't need to have additional EMS, energy management systems, we can scrap them. So we can really think of a solution where we can also cut cost and reinvent hardware. And I think the last layer that we really have is to have that ecosystem and the customer lifetime value where a customer never leaves the ecosystem. Right? So they continue to buy hardware, and at the same time, they also buy our subscription, which is an energy subscription model, plus maintenance. So anything in the entire value of everything in electrification hardware, energy services, grid operations, all of that is in the business model. So it's a potentially not limited business model. And what we're struggling with most right now is to make sure that we prioritize right. Yeah, the company is only 4 years old. We are a utility. We have the license. We are an operator of the largest virtual power plant in Europe. We are suing the European Commission to get equal treatment as a power operator than conventional power plants. So there are many things that we need to keep in the right order in order to deliver on the potential. Yeah.
So how do you feel that growth? Meaning, what are the next steps in terms of funding that growth? For example, it was public that you were want to go public and then you eventually did not go. So what are next steps and how do you see that piece play?
We were a bit hasty with our IPO plans. And no, right now, I think the good news is we are self-sufficient on cash. So the hardware business is generating sufficient cash right now to cover most, if not all, the costs that we have with Heartbeat and the R&D side, which is a significant amount of money. And I think we look at growth more, we want to see more subscription growth, and we want to have part of the business where subscription is first. So people enter the ecosystem and they might have had a certain heat pump or a certain EV charger. The system is compatible with 70% of all EVs. So it's really important to us to now have customers enter the ecosystem via the subscription first. And that's what I'm focusing on more, or the most right now, because once they enter the ecosystem, also the customer acquisition cost for everything that follows becomes completely different, and the value prop is a completely different one. Yeah.
So if you have no short-term plans for IPO, what should we wish you for the future?
Good luck.
So good luck, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Philipp.
Thank you.